I think I'm good to go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. So today we will be basically focusing on one of the very recent articles in Dysphagia. The main motto of having this discussion was to bridge the gap between the clinics and the research. Basically to be at par with the recent researches happening so that we can better apply it in our clinics. Today we have the expert with us is Mrs. Zainab Nagree. She's currently working in Bombay Hospital, the Voice and Swallowing Department, and also the Asian Kambala Hill Hospital. She has a special interest in dysphagia, neuro rehab, and vocal disorders. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today. Rushali, you can take over from here. What we'll be doing is Rushali will be explaining the entire article to us through a PPT. She'll be giving us the gist. And after the article explanation, we will be having a short discussion about the clinical applications of the same. Y'all can ask y'all can in between stop Roshali while she's explaining. If y'all have any doubts or if y'all are unclear at any point, go ahead and ask your questions and participate in the discussion that we'll have later on. Roshali, you can start now. You can take over.
Thank you so much, Arvisha. I'll start with my presentation. Am I audible? Can you just give me a thumbs up? Yeah. Okay. So, the topic of the presentation is effects of verbal cueing on respiratory swallow patterning, lung volume initiation, and swallow apnea duration in Parkinson's disease. It's a very recent article from the Journal of Dysphagia and is authored by James A. Curtis et al. Okay, now let's understand respiratory swallow coordination. Now, to understand this, there are three parameters which come under RS: respiratory swallow patterning, lung volume initiation, and swallow apnea duration. Now, in one liners, let's understand this very thoroughly. Okay, first one was respiratory swallow patterning. That is the amount of inhalations and exhalations that we do before our swallow and after our swallow. So that is pre-swallow initiations, post-swallow initiations. Okay, the number of swallows that we take. Next is lung volume initiation. That is, if you see this graph, just before the swallow apnea. So this is a typical respiratory swallow pattern, which is seen where you exhalation happens, swallow happens, and then there is again expiration happening. Okay, so my lung volume initiation is the amount of air that is there in the lungs just before my swallow initiates. That is just before my swallow apnea. At this point, whatever lung volume is there, that is my lung volume initiation. The third is swallow apnea duration. We are very well aware this particular part where momentarily the respiration stops where we swallow is swallow apnea duration. Can you just give me a quick thumbs up if we have understood all these terms? Okay, thank you. So the main motto of this article is to assess the effects of cueing, verbal cueing on all these three parameters. Okay, so whenever I'm giving a cue, you're supposed to swallow. That is cueing. Non-cueing is I'm just asking the patient to swallow anytime as per his ease or his like no efforts from our end is given. And now we want to determine when are you supposed to cue when a whole tidal breathing is being done. When exactly should I cue to optimize my respiratory swallow coordination? And all this we are going to assess. The authors are going to assess it in Parkinson's disease patients. Okay, so let's get into the method. What they have done is they have been using respiratory inductive plethysmography. We'll be referring to this as RIP, and they are going to record the rib cage and the abdominal movements using this particular machine. So what they are going to do is they are going to tie an elastic band near your rib cage and your abdomen, and they are going to record your respiratory swallow coordination. So this is a normal respiratory swallow coordination. Just pay attention to the exhale swallow exhale pattern that is typically seen. Okay, so this is what they have done in this article. So what they have done is 25 Parkinson's patients they have taken, and first they have calculated the vital capacity and the breathing capacities of the patients. Then using a flexible endoscope, they have asked them to swallow 5 ml thin liquid in two conditions. One is cued and then is non-cued. Non-cued is I'm just telling the patient, take this and swallow whenever you are comfortable. And in cued is you are supposed to hold the bolus and swallow only when I ask you to swallow. So these are our two conditions, okay? And these conditions are these cues, they are going to be given at 4 different points at the tidal breathing. Now let's understand these 4 different points. Okay, so this is a normal tidal breathing. This is my inspiratory phase. This is my expiratory phase. Now, when at this point where you see HE, that is my high tidal exhalation, because this is during the exhalation, and here my lung volume is going to be more. So that is why I'm naming it as HE, that is high exhalation. My next phase is low exhalation. Here my lung volume is low and it's at the end of exhalation. So it's low exhalation. Now, when my inspiration again starts, my lung volume will still be low as I've just started my inhalation. So it's low inhalation over here. And similarly, this will be my highest point where when I have inspired, and the lung volume is going to be high. So it is high inhalation point. Just give me a thumbs up if you have understood these 4 phases. The entire article is going to be when we are going to cue, at which phase if we cue, it is going to be optimizing my respiratory swallow coordination. And if I don't cue at a particular phase, and if I cue at a wrong phase, how it is susceptible to aspiration. Are we going good? Okay.
Yeah.
So what they found out was, all this was calculated, and what they exactly found was, first parameter was respiratory swallow patterning. Now there was a significant difference between cued condition and a non-cued condition. Okay, so my first point was ki farak hai. There's a difference between cued and non-cued condition. Now you can see, and within this cued condition, at low inhalation, you can keep that graph in mind. Where is low inhalation? If this is my curve, here is my low inhalation. Okay, so at that particular point, my respiratory pre-swallow inhalation is very much high. That is 57.3. And you can see at high inhalation, it is so low. It's 5.3. In the coming discussions, we will discuss that why did we find this finding, but just keep this in mind that here it was very high, and at high inhalation, it was low. Okay. Next is lung volume and swallow initiation. Here also they found that there was a significant difference when it was cued and it was not cued. Okay, so when it was not cued, again you will see when it was cued, during the high inhalation, you can see that lung volume initiation was so high, and at low exhalation, you can see it was so low. Okay, so these are my findings. Third parameter, swallow apnea duration. Again, there was a significant difference between cued and non-cued condition. And again, look at during high inhalation, it is low, and during high exhalation, it's 2.93, it's high. Okay, so these were the results found. Now let's discuss about why did we find these results, and let's try to understand it. Now, before going on to the results, let's discuss that how already the pattern of breathing is different in Parkinson's patient. Now, the respiration is significantly, the lower lung volumes are found compared to the normal healthy adult in Parkinson's disease. Okay, now inhale significantly more frequently before and after swallowing. So this is nothing but my lung volume initiation. Okay, that is already more in Parkinson's patient. So Parkinson's patient is going to take quick breaths. Inhalation, exhalation before and after swallow is going to be very quick in Parkinson's compared to the normal adult. Now, next one is person with Parkinson's will have significantly longer period of swallow apnea when compared to healthy adults. They are going to have a swallow apnea duration longer compared to the healthy adults. Okay, so these points, just keep in mind that our discussion is going to roll around these points. Because of these things, there is a difference found in the queuing patterns. Also, an average latency of almost 1 second was observed between verbal cueing and the onset of swallow apnea. That means when I say to swallow, when I cue them to swallow, they are not immediately going to swallow. They'll start the swallow after a latency of 1 second. All right, so when you are queuing, that latency will happen for the 1 second, and when the patient will swallow, that will matter a lot, is what we are focusing on. That means when are we going to queue? This is highlighting on that. Okay, so now let's again go back to our results that we had found out. Respiratory swallowing pattern was, there were more pre-swallow inhalations when cued during LI. LI was low inhalation. At this point, at low inhalation, there were, if I give a cue over here, considering the latency, my swallow apnea or my swallow is going to happen somewhere around here, which is not normal, right? We cannot swallow during an inhalation phase. So there is an increased risk of aspiration if that happens. My other finding was less pre-swallow inhalations were found when cued during high inhalation. So if I cue exactly at this point during high inhalation, my swallow apnea happens in this phase, which will show me a optimized RSC, that is respiratory swallow coordination. Clear? Are we getting it? Can I get a thumbs up if you are clear with it? Okay. Next one was lung volume initiation. We found out that it was decreased when cued at high and low tidal exhalations. So at high tidal exhalation and at low tidal exhalation, anytime if I'm giving a cue over here, my swallow apnea will start somewhere over here, which is at such a low exhalation volume. You cannot, it will again increase the risk of aspiration. If I give my cue over here, again it will, swallow apnea we will find around this point, which is again during inspiration. So that is again susceptible to, that's not safe swallow, right? So this is it. And next one is swallow apnea duration. Again, this was increased during low exhalation and decreased during high inhalation. So it was increased during low exhalation. If I give it over here, it's again going to start over here, which is kind of wrong. And if I give it over here, then it will properly start at this phase, which is optimal. Like we want this to happen. Okay, and the duration will be appropriate. Okay, so what do we conclude from this article is verbal cueing significantly affects the respiratory swallow coordination in Parkinson's disease. Positively also, negatively also. If you give a correct cue, so if you have paid attention, it is whenever we are giving a cue at high inhalation, you take the, like think of the curve, and whenever I'm giving at a high inhalation, it is giving me optimal RSC. Okay, and whenever if I'm giving at any other place, it can give me a negative effect also. So it significantly affects, when I'm cueing, is significantly going to affect. Okay, next was RSC was more coordinated, at this we discussed already, optimal for swallowing when cued at high tidal inhalation. Okay, and it was atypical and risky, especially when you cued at low tidal exhalations. All right. So what do we conclude with this is clinicians should be cognizant of the effect of verbal cueing on RSC by either avoiding verbal cues during health bolus trials or cueing during high tidal breathing in persons with Parkinson's disease. So hereby we end our presentation, and hereby we end with our article. Now let's open our forum for discussion.